Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. I'm going to show you how to make gluten-free, dairy-free pastry. I'm going to try and keep it really quick. The recipe itself is very wordy, but the aim is that if you can see exactly what's involved, you'll actually see just how easy it is. So the important thing is that the dairy-free vegan butter that you use, or you can use normal butter if you prefer, but today I'm going to use vegan butter. It's got to be frozen, so you need 125 grams cut up into little cubes and put in the freezer well before you plan to make the pastry. So I've got mine here. So this is 125 grams, which is frozen, and that's the brand I'm using. Really good. Then you're going to add in a teaspoon of salt. I always use salt for sweet and savoury pastry, and even if I use salted butter, I still put the salt in, so I think it gives it a better taste. Flour, you're going to put in 235 grams of Dove's Farm plain flour. Of course you can use other brands, this is just the one I tend to stick to. So it's that one. So there we go, we have got our butter from the freezer, salt and flour, and it's crucial you have one of these machines. The reason is if you do it by hand, you just simply warm up the butter and it just makes it greasy and really hard to work with. So speed is key. So what we're going to do is put it on until it resembles like wet fine sand. And what I'm doing is just stopping and starting it so that I can sort of feel how near ready it is. Nearly there, just have a little feel. Yeah, so the little lumps of butter, vegan butter, are still a little bit big, so I'm just going to mix it a bit more. There we are, that looks great. So I'll just show you. There we are, that's what we're looking for. And now I just add in the last two ingredients, which is egg, which must be cold from the fridge, and 1 tablespoon of ice cold water. Again, the water must be ice cold. If you use normal butter, then you would add 2 tablespoons of ice cold water. If you're doing dairy-free vegan butter, it's just 1. So today I'm just going to use 1 tablespoon of ice cold water, and always 1 egg. Whole thing goes in, medium sized. And the tablespoon is level, with no ice cubes in there, obviously just the water. And then we pop this on again. So for this you'll probably need a scraper. Now what we're wanting to happen here is for everything to just come together into a dough ball. When you start to feel it rattling, you know it's working. Now sometimes you'll have to scrape the edges if you can see that there's stuff gathering around the rim, but it's not happening today. So the trick here is to keep this going long enough to bring it together, but not overkill it. So a couple of times round, beautiful. That is perfect. Really careful with the blade. It's best to just tip it upside down. So again, we need to carry on working really quickly because this is going to be getting warm. So I'm going to get rid of this. Now this batch of pastry here is going to make 1 large 25 centimetre quiche tin with a bit of spare. It'll make 18 of these. And I think it makes about 10 or 12 of this size. These are actually Yorkshire pudding trays, but they're great for pastries. So what we do now is really important. We grab the ball and we try and handle it as little as possible, and we're going to drop it 20 times. This seems to iron out the cracks. If you don't do this and you make a big case of pastry, you're more likely to find that it's got big cracks in it after it's cooked. So this just really creates a better pastry, and I'm just letting gravity make it fall, and I've totally lost count, so That's probably about 20 times. Then we need parchment paper. And a dusting of flour, same flour that you used before. And then we're gonna slam that down, bit more flour on top, and then we're gonna get our cling film. I've got this massive wide one, which is brilliant, but if you've got a slimmer cling, it's absolutely fine. You might need to use 2 sheets. So I'm gonna pop that over the top. Okay, now the pastry's ready to roll. Again, I'm gonna try and do this as quickly as I can because I don't want this pastry getting too warm. So what I'm gonna show you is how to fill a slightly bigger dish. The one I'm gonna show you is not quite as big as 25 centimetres. It's probably about 20 centimetres. But when you roll, you're kind of pressing the pastry so that you can feel how thick it is in the middle and on the sides. And don't worry if the shape isn't great, because you're going to bring it back into a ball and repeat this a few times in order to get all the pastry used up. Okay, how's that feeling? Great, so now what we do, this is my trick, is you grab this and you are going to, let me remember, turn that over. It's been a little while since I made this. And then give it a little roll underneath just to iron out some of those creases. And then you're going to peel away the parchment paper. We'll use it again in a minute. Park it to one side. Now this stickiness is because the pastry is starting to get warm. So then what you do is you slide your hand underneath, you place it over the tin, and then you carefully drape it. Now, to avoid it tearing, because remember it doesn't have gluten, so there's no elasticity in here, you need to actually feed the pastry into the dish rather than pushing it in. So we're going to feed it in, keeping the cling on top for now. Like so. Okay, so I've dropped it all in the case, and then you simply go around and neaten the edges. You can be a bit rougher now. Okay, and again, mindful of time. And then you very, very carefully peel this away so that you don't end up lifting the pastry in the case. As you can see, it starts to stick a bit. So there we are. So that's going to go in the oven. But before I do that, I'm going to use the rest of this pastry and show you some other shapes. So I always use the same cling again. When I do make pastry, I normally make many, many batches. And to be honest with you, once you've got all your ingredients out on the washing up, you might as well make a few batches for the freezer if you've got time. And then you can take them out and put them in the fridge. And then when you want to use them, you use them straight from the fridge. Okay, so I'm trying not to touch this too much. So I'm just going to drop that a couple of times. Okay, and now repeat. So another little dusting. That on there. A little bit on top just to stop the cling from sticking really. So I'm just rolling it out exactly the same thickness as that one. You can go thinner, you can go thicker, just depends on how thick you want your pastry, and the trick is to make sure it's cooked until it's golden, because it gives it that nice crunchy, crumbly texture. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a couple of these ones. So for that, you just press them down, and then using something like this again, because it limits how much heat you're putting on the pastry. So just place that in there, give it a little dab, and same there. And then I'm going to do you a couple of this size. So you'll need the right size cutter. It's best just to measure it over the tin. And then 1 and 2. Now, these tins are actually quite hard when they're sort of steep, so you need to push it in very carefully to make sure you don't tear the pastry. If you do, and there's a crack in it, just patch it up with a little bit of extra pastry. And then gently push that in. And then I might as well just use up the rest of this, and I'm going to make 2 more medium-sized ones. Bit more flour. So I can feel the pastry is much warmer now, so in the summer months, for example, it's much harder to make than it is in the winter when generally the temperature is cooler. Ooh, can't quite get too much of it. So I'll just repeat again. And these pastry tarts can be filled with savoury or sweet things, but always blind bake them, no matter what. And there we go. Okay, now I'm going to pop them in the oven. In fact, I'll just get one more case out of there. Okay, lovely. Right, I'm going to pop these in the oven until they're golden. You want to cook them quite high, I'd say about 190 degrees. For, usually I do 10 minutes, then I turn them, and then it can be up to 10 minutes again until they're golden. So you're looking at about 20 minutes. I'm now going to show you the pastry. So this is the little ones, nice and golden. The medium ones. And finally, the larger one. There we are, ready to be filled. So a massive, massive thank you to Adriana Rabonovich for this recipe. It's not in this book of hers, but this book I actually bought way back in 2013 when I went on her pastry course. And yeah, she was always really supportive of my kind of aspirations to have a gluten-free coffee shop. And then since passing the coffee shop on to new owners and with writing the book, you know, she was really happy for me to share it with you guys. So a big thank you to Adriana. And yeah, happy baking. I hope you enjoy. Bye. I kind of forgot to mention something quite important, which is I've got a recipe book available now of loads and loads of really easy, gorgeous recipes that I've made over the years when I ran Reading's only gluten-free coffee shop. So check out the website www.nibsies.com and all the details. There'll be details on there about it. And yeah, cheers, bye.